Ryan Doyle in for Michael Corrin here on the Arena. Before Michael left, he gave me 2 or maybe 3 words. He said, watch those people. I said, what do you mean? Watch those people? What could he possibly be talking about? And then I figured out that the Rumble is exactly what he was talking about. Maryanne Meed Ward, David Menzies, who is the host of Menzoid Mornings. You are the 2 people in question that need watching. The violence is starting already, folks.
I have to pay extra for that.
Yeah, I'm going to say she'll give you a bill at the end of it.
Are you charging Sarah Thompson rates or flat fee?
All right, let's not get back. I heard about that too. You behave.
Yeah,
let's start on a bit of a serious note here. Margaret Thatcher obviously passing away this weekend. A sad moment, I think, even at the age of 87. It's a sad moment for a lot of people.
Well, I think Margaret Thatcher shows that women can be found on all points of the political spectrum, from left to far right. I certainly didn't agree with a lot of her policies and thought she could have used a little softening to the Iron Lady, but I don't believe that people should be celebrating her passing. But she was a significant force, and she showed again that women have very different styles, different opinions from each other.
Oh, how profound. Women have different opinions, just like men.
Well, you know,
I never knew.
No, but there is this view that women will bring this uniform, softer, gentle approach to politics. We've been told that, and it's just not, it's not the fact.
No, of course it's not the fact. And I mean, this was a fantastic leader, Ryan. It goes without saying. What I think the real story now that her passing is sort of out of the news cycle. It's the response by the left-wing people, many of whom didn't show up in the House of Commons when they recalled the session to announce the passing. Some people that are saying they're going to have an actual party, a celebration.
They were popping bubbly in the streets.
And there was this one comment by a union representative saying that Margaret Thatcher did more harm to his town than the Germans did in World War II. Now, you've got to keep in mind the context. These were mines that were operating at a chronic loss. You know, they were being kept artificially alive, paying the entitled union wages that they, sucked upon the taxpayer teat. And she came in, and in addition to reforming, I mean, don't forget, Ryan, 1979, Britain had the new nickname, the sick man of Europe. She turned it around, made Britain an economic powerhouse. She was instrumental in tearing down communism. She defeated Argentina with the Falklands Island. Just achievement after achievement after achievement. And this is indeed a sad morning, and shame on those people for denigrating this woman. These are the parasites.
Well, all the things David just listed, though, can you have accomplished those as a soft politician, as you said?
Absolutely. Through negotiation and through dialogue. Absolutely. It may not have come about as quickly, but you don't just say to people, I'm going to impose this on you. You say, look, here's the cards we've been dealt. This is our hand. We don't get to argue about whether we like the hand, but here's the hand. Let's play it. Let's figure out how to play it together. And she didn't do that. And people in power typically do that and will impose. And so people were hurt. There's no question that there was suffering and there was hurt based on her policies. And if she had tried a different approach, she may yet have gotten to the same end, may have achieved great things, but not at the cost to the public.
The suffering and the pain, Maryanne Meed Ward, was imposed upon the British public not by Margaret Thatcher, but by unions. People might have forgotten how militant these unions were. You had a once proud British auto industry, virtually doesn't exist anymore. I mean, Jaguar, that's an Indian company now. But you had unions going out on wildcat strikes over the most frivolous things. I remember there was one incident, there wasn't toilet paper in one of the stalls. Wildcat strike. This was the kind of union.
Not all unions behave themselves. That's true. Not all bureaucracies behave themselves. But unions have contributed greatly to the well-being of the
decline of Britain in the 1970s.
Let's switch it up. Let's talk about this Toronto dad. He wants to put his daughter in swim classes. It seems like a pretty standard thing. He's a single dad. He wants to go make sure his little girl is okay when she's in the pool. I think that's a reasonable request. Now, because we have religious accommodation, there will be a curtain put around the pool at certain points where he can't see his daughter swim. And it's all because, well, certain women in the community have a religious or cultural problem with that.
Yeah. This is a problem, Ryan, what I call soft jihad, the implementation of a type of Sharia law into society. The real villains here are those politicians, bureaucrats, aquatic directors, you name it, that lack the testicular fortitude to say to the radicals, this is Canada, this is a public pool, we do not fund with taxpayer dollars sexism, discrimination, and aquatic apartheid. Instead, we bend over backwards to these people. That's what it boils down to, Ryan. That's not my bag. That's not my Canada. And this is just a continuation of what we see, not just in Canada, but in all kinds, of Western countries going on right now. It is a disgrace. My version of reasonable accommodation is that if Muslim women wanted to swim unseen by men, then the mosque or an Islamic community center builds their own pool. Do what you want on your own dime. When it comes to the state funding, like I said, discrimination, sexism, and apartheid, that's not
Maryanne,
my bag.
is that the solution?
Well, I think there can be some reasonable accommodation even within public facilities. However, so for example, I know public pools in my community can be rented out by private groups. So you can rent and book for parties, for whatever. So if there is a group of people who have very particular religious beliefs around swimming and pools and girls and so forth, then they can book the pool time and get their own instructors, and that could be a reasonable accommodation. But this is shocking, David, but I have to say I agree with you.
Is this the first? I like this.
Wow.
This may be the first, but when it comes to public classes at a public pool, I think the Canadian standards around these things have to apply. And so this father has every much of a right to participate and to sit in on his classes.
David mentioned politicians without testicular fortitude. I mean, what is that? You were a politician for many years. You've been in the world you've been in the world of politics for quite a while.
I don't have a lot of testicular fortitude, but I do have other fortitude. I've been known to speak my mind on things, and yeah, I think the word reasonable accommodation. We can't lose our minds on this, and we can't. It's common sense.
But as you said, this is unreasonable. And listen, there's a fitness chain.
If it's a public class in a public pool, if it's a private class,
we have common ground.
I have no issue renting the space in a public pool to a group that wants to use it in whatever way they want to use it. But remember, this is various members of the public, the common denominator being female. And here you are denying a father the joy of watching his little 9-year-old girl swim. Listen, there's a very successful fitness chain for women called Curves. I have absolutely no problem with that. They are not taking a single cent of taxpayer dollar. Like I said, you want to have set up your own kind of discriminatory program based on religion, based on sex. Fine, do it on your own dime.
All right, I'm going to stop you two right there because I'm tired of hearing you agree, quite honestly. We're going to continue this and hopefully we'll get you guys revved up a little bit further.
Absolutely.
Ryan Doyle in for Michael Corrin here on the Arena, and the Arena has turned into a bit of a rumble as it does every single Friday. Maryanne Meed Ward is here. David Menzies, the Menzoid host of Menzoid Mornings here on Sun News Network. Let's talk about biking to work, because Menzoid, I know you always bike to work.
Well, you know what? Believe it or not, when I lived in East York and worked in downtown Toronto, I did bike to work. And here's another surprise for you. I joined the YMCA solely to use their shower facilities. You're going to be surprised on this.
I don't want to hear this.
Yeah, the story here, for those who don't know, City of Toronto is looking up at setting a biking facility where you can park your bikes, lock them up. It's $1.2 million, but there'll be showers included, so we're supposed to rejoice.
Yeah, you know what, Ryan, especially in California, you'll see many companies that are trying to encourage people to cycle. And if you're in a cycling distance, why not? Sometimes it's actually faster to work, especially if it's a gridlock situation. The downfall is not the energy needed. In fact, you feel great after a nice workout, but it's the fact that you are in sweaty cycling clothes and you really need to shower and change in order to, function in a white-collar workplace environment. For that reason, I actually support this. I think this is a really good idea. Yeah.
I was hoping to find some disagreement. Maybe I'll take it. David, the price tag is $1.2 million. So certainly there's got to be a better way.
Well, here's the thing. There are progressive employers already who have on-site fitness centers and they have on-site showers. So perhaps instead of building a separate standalone structure, they could have worked with the private sector and offered incentives for employers.
No problem with that.
If you've already got a workout room, which we do at our City Hall, you know, maybe you get a break, you know, one of Stephen Harper's renovation credits, I don't know, to build showers within the facility. And then you encourage your employees. So large employees over a certain amount, a certain number where there's a critical mass, I think would make a lot of sense.
Have we changed the climate of this country? Last I looked, there's a lot of winter going on. I mean, it's April, it's snowing and hailing in Toronto. Who's on a bike?
When I did the commuting, Ryan, it was from April till November. So basically, I lost 4 months with the really severe weather. But listen, there was a terrible dynamic in this city, and it's this idea of us versus them, cyclists and motorists hating each other. I'm a hybrid. I mean, listen, the only reason I'm not circus fat and I'm just fat is because I get on a bike and I move my ricotta cheese candy ass to shed a couple of pounds. I think bringing the two camps together, get the cyclists into a car and see how horrible it is driving in gridlock. Get a car driver who hasn't been on a bike in 20 years onto a bike and see what it's like navigating the streets of Toronto and what you have to encounter. And then, you know what? We will have an understanding, you know, walk a mile in my shoes, so to speak. I think this is a great idea. Even if you're a motorist and you're never going to cycle and never going to use these shower facilities, think about it. If that takes a dozen, 100, 1,000 cars off the road because these guys are now cycling, less gridlock for you.
The environmentally friendly David Menzies.
I didn't realize. It's not even an
crazy.
environment issue for me.
Yeah, I think we have to look at the larger issue of transportation. Is that why are people cycling great distances or having to walk great distances or even having to take the train great distances? We need to bring jobs closer to where people live. And until we do that, and get away from this sort of big boxification of employment where everybody has to go from the outskirts of the GTA into Toronto, and that gets repeated at every urban center across the country. We're going to continue to have transportation problems. So.
Well, now you've actually detoured into loopy
urban
land.
Planning.
No, urban planning. Thank you for making my point.
Good urban planning.
Imagine how much better, Ryan, if we had the Spadina Expressway in Toronto, which of course was cancelled in the 70s, right? Yeah. But that was your ilk, you know, the Birkenstock Brigade.
No.
No cars down here, man.
Yeah,
right?
So don't,
and now we have no.
Don't put an expressway. Put a subway. You look at the 60s and the 70s. The plan for the subway system in this country, in this city, was spectacular. If anybody had the courage to do it at that time, we wouldn't be facing the situation
you mean like Rob Ford, who wants subways right now? But all the left.
That's the one thing I agree with him about.
I will resist the temptation
of
asking whether or not you've ever owned a pair of Birkenstocks, and we'll just move on from there. Let's talk about the province of Alberta. What happened here this week with this sexual assault, vicious sexual assault? Guy assaults his roommate while she's sleeping. I'm not even going to repeat what he did. The guy's a Paralympian. Yep. He's a blind Paralympian, and now he's been spared jail time.
Ryan, this is to dial it back to the first topic, or the second topic, I should say. This is getting into that murky realm where we are starting to put people of different ethnicity, different religion, different races into a separate silo of justice. So if you're Native and you do I don't know more or Caledonia, well, you know what? Different standard for you because you are Native. This is a case where it's somebody with blindness. So you've sexually, well, he raped a woman. Let's be clear. It wasn't, you know, grabbing her butt or anything like that. It was very serious. Because you have this disability, again, house arrest, which is a joke. That is basically business as usual for this individual. And I believe in justice for all. You know how Lady Justice is blind? You know, holding up the scales? Brother, Lady Justice these days has a pair of X-ray glasses on, right? And we're now compartmentalizing the bad guys and seeing what their class, their race, religion is before we charge them and sentence them, and that is wrong.
Maryanne, you look at the house arrest. I mean, come on, that's a bit of a joke. He gets to work, he gets to walk his dog, he gets to go shopping.
No, those parts of it, if he was completely confined to his house, that would be acceptable because he is confined. And he needs to be
Some people would look at that as
protect.
a plus. They play video games all day, or you know, surf.
Well, so the problem in the jail system, and let's look at somebody, say for example, who might be in a wheelchair. If you're in a wheelchair and the jail that you're going into doesn't have accessible washrooms, doesn't have grab bars, you can't function in that environment. And so what they're saying, I think, with this is that our jails aren't set up to accommodate people who are blind. They wouldn't be able to navigate the system. They wouldn't be able to function. And so until we get that into our jail systems...
Isn't that a bit of a cop-out, though? I mean, it's 2013. Blindness isn't something that's new.
Yeah, no, but,
we're still figuring out how to accommodate people in wheelchairs. There are buildings throughout this, until the AODA Act in Toronto or in Ontario, which is specifically requires municipalities across the province to make accommodations. There was no incentive because it costs money, and so until we duplicate that in the legal system, in the justice system, in the jails. Just putting people there is not going to allow them to function.
No, but wait a minute,
should he be allowed to walk his dog? Should he be allowed to go out and work while he's on house arrest? Absolutely not. That really undermines the seriousness of this crime and this victim. It's awful.
But I'm sorry, what accommodation do you need if you have a jail cell and you have a bunk and you have the toilet there? And you are in that jail cell.
So how is he going to get, if he's in the general population, how is he going to get to
You
eat?
don't put him in the general population, you leave him in the jail cell.
You put him in segregation.
Oh, well, what else are you going to do?
Well, that's the question. And so the jails are not set up to accommodate people with disabilities.
He's got a cot, he's got a toilet, he's got a sink. What more do you need? So you want to give him the creature comforts of home and, No,
I think he should be allowed to go to eat. In the cafeteria.
Why make friends?
No, just
talk shop with the other rapists.
You know what I like about this? We started on agreement, ended on disagreement. I haven't broken the rumble at all. Thank you both.
It's like the female John Downs, right?
In a way, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.